And now, suspense.
I'll sometimes mention a movie that I've never seen. And most of the time when I get a lot of weird people like that coming at me is because I've never seen certain movies. Like
Okay.
I'll say something. Obviously, you joke around when you say like, "What, you haven't seen this?" Or, but like there are people who just
Yeah.
like are real about it. They're just like, "You've never seen Indiana Jones," and I'm just like, "No, like I don't care to ever watch it." Like, and I give my reasons for it, but people just hear that and they're just like automatically like,
Mhm.
"You must not know what cinema is," or "You must not love classics," or "You must have grown up without a father," or something.
POV, you're a fatherless child. You didn't see Indiana Jones.
But yeah, like stuff like that, like Jaws. I've never seen Jaws. I've seen like, but when I
Oh,
say
really?
that,
Surprising.
when I say that, it's like I've never seen it all the way through. Obviously,
Okay.
it's impossible for most of the time for you to go through life without ever seeing clips or something about something. You know what I mean? Especially in
Yeah.
the digital age, you literally have access to anything and everything. So there are people who just refuse to do so. Me, I don't like refuse to do so. It's just that like I don't care to do so. Like
Yeah.
if like one day I might be like, you know what, I want to watch every Indiana Jones movie. Like the other day, I was telling you, like I sat down and watched the entire Harry Potter series, and I had never done that before. I think there was only like one or two movies in the entire series that I never saw. Well, actually, no, three. There were three movies I had never seen, and that was because I just had zero interest in ever doing so. But like with classic films like Jaws, Indiana Jones, I'm trying to think of something else. I'm pretty sure there are other classics that I've never seen.
E.T.
I've seen ET. I really like.
Oh, yeah.
I don't.
Okay.
I people are gonna hate me for this too. I don't think ET is as great as everyone says it is, but I really enjoy it. But I don't think it's as great as everyone says it. Spielberg has much better work, but whatever. That's for another discussion. Like with Indiana Jones, I had mentioned to you that I'm just not into adventure like type Tomb Raider type movies. You know what I mean? I'm just not really into them for some reason. Which is why when Uncharted came out, they're like, "Oh, you're gonna watch the new Uncharted?" I'm like, "Nah, I'm good." Like or National Treasure. I've never seen National Treasure either. The day that we watched National Treasure, the day that we watched National Treasure at school, I skipped class. Not intentionally, but I just happened to skip class that day, and they're like, "Oh, we watched National Treasure." I was like, "Okay, like I don't think I'm missing anything." But like, yeah, I'm just not into those types of movies for some reason. But like, I just, yeah, they just don't interest me. They don't pique my interest for whatever reason. I can say that. Like, I could say I've just never been interested in watching Jaws. People have this like weird thing about that, like this weird reaction because they have nostalgia towards it, where I don't.
Oh, yeah.
Because if someone I find it weird when people tell me they don't like westerns. I grew up on westerns. My dad was a huge western fan. So I love westerns. But nowadays westerns is like a people don't like that shit. Like I thought growing up this is gonna sound so racist. Growing up, I thought white people loved westerns. So when like I grew up in like so when I grew up and like I realized that like a ton of white people I know don't like westerns, I was like, okay, like here I am being a native, I should hate westerns, right? Because we're always portrayed as like savages and shit, but I fucking love westerns. I think westerns are great. It just boggled my mind. I was like, well, white people don't like westerns. Like what? Like it's funny because like nowadays too, especially people my age or even younger, they've never seen westerns at all, but they love the neo western, which is cool. But I love a neo western too, like Hell or High Water, Wind River, and stuff like that. Those are a lot of like neo westerns, and they have the same elements to it, but they're just more modernized. But they have the same.
Yeah.
It's all the same elements.
You ever seen a show Justified?
Yeah,
Yeah, like
Justified,
that.
great.
Kind of like that a little bit.
That the neo western is taking over. Like everyone loves Yellowstone. You know what I mean? That's a neo western. And I get it when I'll be like, yeah, I've never seen Jaws or I've never seen. I mean, I had never even seen Back to the Future until like a few years ago when my wife introduced it to me. Like she was a
So
fan
the
of
first
Back
one.
to
I've
the
never
Future.
seen the other two.
Yeah, and I didn't never even seen any of them. I think I'd seen like bits and pieces, but it wasn't until we met that I actually sat down and watched those movies. I still don't love them. I think they're good. I don't love them. Like, I mean, to me, they're just whatever. Like, I'll just throw them on and it's whatever. And same with like Alien. I had never seen Alien until I met my wife. And people thought that was just like, what? You've never seen Alien? I'm like, never seen Alien. I saw Alien versus Predator.
Oh, poor
still,
bastard.
yeah. To this day, I've only ever seen Alien 1. Never seen the other two. Or at least I don't remember any of the ones. So yeah, I've only
Alien. If I recommend, I say watch Alien, then Aliens, which is a sequel, and you're mostly good from there. You'll have to watch the other
I saw
ones.
Prometheus. I really like Prometheus.
Prometheus, I do like Prometheus too. That was really good.
So when people are like, people find it weird too that I like the sequels or prequels to the more modern movies to like the old ones. Are like, oh, you have like people make it think that you have to like the older version to like the new one, or you have to like it better. And I'm like, okay, another hot take. I don't like The Shining, but
Really?
I love Doctor Sleep.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think my brain just committed suicide.
I think Doctor Sleep.
Wait, it's like what?
I love
Really?
Doctor Sleep. I think Doctor Sleep is incredible.
Surprising.
I don't like The Shining. I don't think and that's because Jack Nicholson plays Jack Nicholson. I know Jack Nicholson. He plays Jack Nicholson.
I love Jack Nicholson though.
Yeah. So like, okay, and it's also because I agree. This is like one of the very rare times that I agree with the writer. I think Stephen King was right about everything that he hates about The Shining. Like, I usually don't agree.
Really?
I'm usually like, oh well, you know, that guy created it, but this is somebody doing something new, and that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of like the only times where I completely agree with the writer, and I think he's right about everything that he hates about The Shining, and I think it's justified. I'm like, bro, who are we gonna listen to? Like somebody who wrote a movie or somebody who wrote the actual story that the movie's based on? I like the music. I think the music is like the best part of the movie. The score is fantastic, and I think it's because people hyped it up so much for me. That's why I don't listen to people when they tell me, "Hey, watch this movie. It's great," and I'm like, "No, I won't." And people are like, "Oh, why don't you want to watch it?" I was like, "Because you told me to watch it. I automatically don't want to watch it." That might seem pretentious to some people, but it's because of shit like this that I don't do it, because people hyped up The Shining for me so much. So when I finally watched it, I was like, I don't like this.
Mm-hmm.
And I was so disappointed. And people were like, oh, it's like the scariest movie ever. Watched it. I was not scared for 1 second.
It's definitely, I like Shining a lot. I think it's great. And I'm mixed on Stephen King. Like I like a lot of his concepts. I read a lot of his books, and a lot of his books he has weird execution, but he has great concepts. But I don't know, I prefer Kubrick's version of The Shining over Stephen King's. And also when Stephen King did his TV, did you watch the TV miniseries?
I didn't see that one.
Okay,
I know about it though, but I never watched it.
Yeah, he got to actually co-wrote it, and it was in the 90s, I think. So he got to co-write it. It's like 4 hours long because, you know, it was 4 episodes, hour long each.
He hated it so much he made his own movie.
Exactly. But actually watching it, it makes me sit back and go like, okay, I see why Kubrick's changed so many things, because some of the stuff it's really goofy, because King has a weird style where like interesting concept on paper, but then when you actually like do it or like see it like actually on screen, you're like, yeah, that's really goofy and kind of weird and dumb. I see why he changed so much of it.
The whole fact of Jack Nicholson pretty much being crazy the whole movie, and there was no buildup.
Yeah.
I remember watching it and I was like, so this guy was fucking batshit crazy the whole movie. Like there was no buildup to it. Like when he goes crazy, I'm like, there is no change in character whatsoever. So
I thought that was kind of the point where he was already like a little messed up. So I think that was like, because he clearly, him and his wife don't have a good relationship at all. Yeah, like you tell she's constantly stressed out around them, and like you have, like I think it's a good for what he's trying to do, but I think that's how Kubrick went a different route, where it's like instead of spending time letting him go crazy, already make him a little off, which makes him more susceptible to like the ghosts and the hauntings that make him go crazy. So I see what they were going for. And like 9 years later, he would play the Joker, you know?
Yeah. And again, he just played Jack Nicholson.
Yeah, that was fun. It was so much fun though.
Yeah. So like, yeah, that's one of my other hot takes. We like the same thing with like Blade Runner. That's another one. People are like, you don't like Blade Runner, but you like Blade Runner. I love Blade Runner 2049. I think it's fantastic. I also have a bit of a bias because it's Denis Villeneuve, and I think Denis Villeneuve has like untouched track record. Like every movie that dude's done is like perfect. But
perfect. Yep.
But even without that, I was like, this is actually really good. And I've seen, but people would always tell me like, oh, you got to watch this version of Blade Runner. You got to watch this version. I'm like, bro, I don't want to have to watch 4 different versions of a movie to like it. Like that's just too much. And I've seen every version of Blade Runner because I studied it. This is also probably why I don't like it, is because I had to study it for film school. In film school, we studied Blade Runner and all of its concepts that deal with like classism, racism, all that stuff that's in it that most people probably don't even know, because there's like, all they think about is that it's just a, you know, really cool sci-fi that was revolutionary for the time. But I'm like, bro, no, there's a lot of different concepts. There's a lot of underlying concepts in that movie. So I had to dissect all that stuff. So with that, I was just like, God, I hate this movie. Don't go to film school, people. Do not go to film school. It is going to ruin your love for film. So I took all that out of my head. All right, I'm just going to watch these movies for what they are. And I still didn't like them. I was just like, interesting concepts. I don't like it. I just don't. And then I watched Blade Runner 2049, which by definition, because it's in the same world and everything, I should hate it too, right? But this is where when you get different writers and you get somebody who's a little bit more, I don't want to say competent, but like somebody who's more mastered in the art of making film, like Denis Villeneuve is, you can take something that somebody might not like and you do something similar or have it set in the same world, but have it done much better, in my opinion.
That ain't too shocking. Like, I don't mind Blade Runner. Like, I like Ridley Scott. He's a weird director. His track record is either like he's really good or he's just really bad. But when he's on fire, he's on fire. He's really good. But it's like Blade Runner is like, I never care for sci-fi or cyberpunk or any of that stuff. So it's like I watched it like years ago. I think I watched it before 2049 came out because I never saw it. I watched it. I don't know which version I saw. I probably didn't see the right version. But I was kind of like, this ain't bad. I mean, it's pretty cool. Like, I see why it was so revolutionary for its time because, you know, it was, 40 years ago when that came out, like 82, 85 or something like that. So, like, I get why it was so revolutionary. But at the same time, I'm kind of like, it's just not, I don't really care for sci-fi much anyway. So, yeah, so that, honestly, I met people like that too, who like 2049 more than the first one. So, you're actually like the third person I heard say that. So it's not too surprising.
Yeah. The one that's surprising though is the Doctor Sleep.
Doctor Sleep was okay. When I saw Doctor Sleep, only thing I didn't like about it, like I didn't like I was really into it at first, you know, really slow pace. I was building it. There's one scene I saw that was like fucking hilarious. It's the scene where they set that trap for all those other guys that they set that trap to where they go into the woods and they start opening fire, shooting on them. That shit was so fucking goofy to me. It was so out of place. I'm like, wait, what? Oh, y'all have psychic powers. What are you doing? What is this? Yeah, that scene was just so weird. They lure them into a trap because the girl makes them think that she's like in the car because she's projecting her consciousness there, but she's not actually there. And then they start shooting at him. Like, it's so funny. It's so weird to me. I'm like, this is a weird way to like dispatch them all because like how good it was up to that point was just so weird to me. All of that, I do like the ending though, and they burned down the hotel and everything. That was good. Like, it hit that point where I'm kind of like, okay, this is a little weird now. Like, you hit that point where it's a little goofy, and then you have the whole fucking Stephen King ass fucking names, or you have the chick with the hat, so what they call her something top hat or something. It's like, this is a Stephen King fucking thing. Stephen King has that in his writing so much, where like he gives characters those weird ass fucking quirks, and like that's just like, oh yeah, this is a thing he does. Or his bullies are so unbelievably fucking like out there.
Yeah,
it's like he's very. The issue is he's written so much in such a long span of time that a lot of it almost feels like he's being a cliche of himself at times because he's like,
maybe.
Oh yeah, like I think he kind of knows what he's doing now, so that's why he's like, oh, here's the overly religious person, here's the disturbed, disgruntled artist / writer, you know, there's like here's the weird ass character with like a weird gimmick that he'll do randomly throughout the whole movie or the whole book, you know. It's like I think he's aware of it now, so he just leans into it. So each character has a weird gimmick about them. But with Dr. Sleep, that was always like it got a little. Some of the characters are a little too gimmicky or weird for me. I'm like, okay, he adapted it pretty well. Like, adaptation.
Did Dr. Sleep come out before or after It Chapter 2?
I think it was right after, right? Wait, It Chapter 2 was 2018 or 19, right?
Yeah.
Let me take a look. I think it came out right after.
Because I'm thinking that also might have played a part in it because I had just watched It Chapter 2 and it was terrible. I had seen It Chapter 2 and I was like, this sucks. So then I saw Dr. Sleep and I was like, all right, okay, I like this. Like, finally, some Stephen King that I like.
Me and my friend riff on It Chapter 2 so much because like the first one was, you know, really good.
The first one's fantastic.
Oh, it's amazing. But with the second one, I thought it was decent for like an hour. Then it hits a point where you're kind of like, this is fucking stupid. You know, to be fair, the book's actual like climax and the whole adult shit of the book is not as good as the children's stuff.
It isn't.
Yeah, so like I kind of get like, oh, it's a pretty decent adaptation. They switched the timeline around, but it's a decent adaptation. But it's like, yeah, but that's still fucking stupid. It's like,
yeah, and that's because I went into it knowing the ending. I've always thought the ending was bad to it.
Oh yeah,
from the books into the old miniseries, I never liked the aspect of them as adults. I always thought that part was boring. So you know, it chapter 2 came out, I was like, oh god, like I already don't like this portion of the story anyway, as when they're adults, because to me the adult portion was always annoying, because I'm like, bro, you're adults with working adult brains and money. Why are you making all these stupid decisions? Like there was a part in the old miniseries when he's like, why don't we go down there with like machine guns and stuff? And I was like, bro, you're a fucking adult, and most of you are very successful and very well off. Go to the gun store. You're in a fucking hillbilly ass town. I'm sure there's a gun store with fucking, you know, rifles and machine guns and shit. Go over there, get some flamethrowers and some machine guns, go down the sewer and rip shit up. Nah, we're gonna go in there with the power of friendship. Like, what is this?
What kind of shit is that?
Just don't be. They ended with them like, don't be afraid of them or something like that. It was so.
Yeah, you're not gonna be afraid when you got a machine gun. Like,
I feel more comfortable. Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like, I'm not gonna be afraid of an alien spider or an alien clown when I have a flamethrower or a bazooka attached to me.
I'm a lead farmer, motherfucker.
Although I do like how they did the chapter 1, chapter 2 is where you can watch chapter 1 completely independent. You don't need chapter 2 at all. So I do like how it still has the conclusion with the kids part, so you don't have to watch the second part. And you know, I got It Chapter 2 as like a gift, and like I watched it in theaters, disappointed. Then I watched it again once I got it on Blu-ray as a gift, and like I didn't hate as much the second time, but then I still was kind of like, yeah, I don't like it though. So the first time I saw it, I'm like, damn, that, because I knew the adult part was gonna be rough. But like watching, I'm kind of like, yeah, no one can make this adult portion of this fucking story work. This is not nearly as good.
It's not, because you have like I said, when you're a kid, you're afraid of everything. Did their brains ever mature? Like, because they're still acting like fucking dumbass kids.